What's up, gamers? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be ranking all the defenders of Rainbow Six Siege. Before we're going any further, the links to all my socials in the description below, so make sure you go check those out. Now, last week we did an attacker tier list. This week we're doing a defender tier list, basically ranking all the defenders where, in my personal opinion, I see them. Now this, obviously, I've already placed all the defenders. We're just going to go through and kind of see where I placed them and why. So obviously this is, I'm placing this as a Wamai. Jaeger, Wamai, even though they got nerfed, are needed essentially pretty much just to stop that grenade or flashbang or Capital Bolt, anything. Even though they stop a lot less, it's still important, it's still necessary, and you still need it for protecting shields or anything like that. Smoke, I think, is really needed for wasting the time, for bringing that shield, bringing rotates. Mute, Mozzie for drone denial. Mute for some wall denial. Both have C4s. Mute can make rotates and all that stuff, but they both have C4s for stopping plants and drone denial, which is really important. Especially, I just think that's important in general because in higher level play, information is really important. So denying that information is equally as important. Bandit and Cade, I feel like you need a lot for wall denial or hatch denial. Again, they both have C4s. That's really useful for stopping plant or playing vertically with C4s or anything like that. But I do think they are necessary for either protecting shields, walls, hatches, anything like that, except on maps maybe like Coastline. But pretty much on every other map, there's going to be at least a wall or a hatch the attackers need to get. So stopping them is going to be very important. And this last person is Aruni. I haven't seen a lot of like competitive gameplay with her, obviously, but I think she will come into the scene as maybe either a substitute for Jaeger, or not really Wamai, but probably maybe Jaeger, or a combination of all three. What you could see maybe happening is a Jaeger, Wamai, Aruni, Mute, Smoke, or Mozzie, Smoke, because you have lots of utility denial, you have a shield, and then you have drone denial, in my opinion. Maybe it's also wall denial with the Mute. In my opinion, I can see her coming in as slowing people down and being as needed for more utility wasting from the attackers, so I can definitely see her becoming a need operator. For common, I have Vigil because he's a very common roamer. Kind of situational, to be honest. I think you would rather roam with, you'll bring somebody with more utility like a Mozzie or a Jaeger or a Bandit to roam, but Vigil is a very popular roamer because of his ability. Valkyrie, very common for her intel. I don't think she's a necessity. She's like in between, but I just have her as common because sometimes you do, instead of a Valkyrie, need like a Bandit, Cade, Mute, something like that. But she is very common. Castle, very underrated. I feel like a lot of people put him at situational or trash even. I think he is very common, or should be common, because he is very useful for roaming or just holding the site in general for keeping people down and protected. This is Melusi. She doesn't have an icon, but this is Melusi. Very common. I don't think she's again one of those in-between operators, but I think instead of a Melusi, you again like a Valkyrie would pick somebody like a Bandit or Mute or Jaeger, but she is very common. She's kind of like a substitute to a Rooney almost, but I do think she's very common as well, and I can see her being played. She is played a lot, but even more, I can see her becoming more played. For the meta, currently it's a lot of utility wasting and time wasting. So I have Tachanka because of his grenades for wasting time. You might be thinking, why do you have a Smoke here? But in need, but not Tachanka. It's because Smoke's more effective at making rotates. He's better at stopping plant and wasting time, and he has a shield, so that's just a lot more necessary in my opinion. Tachanka's not as good as making those rotates. He's just not as practical in my opinion. He has a meta though. You can pair both of them together and waste a lot of time, but I do think he is not super practical, and I would rather have a Smoke player instead of a Tachanka. Maestro brings intel and also more utility clear with his bubble cameras. And then this is Goyo. Again, just more shields. Pretty much just this is a meta of shields. So Wamai and Valkyrie losing their shields is really big. But meta of shields with Goyo is very strong. Situational is all these people. We'll just go to the list. Alibi, she is good. She is strong. But I do think she's situational. I wouldn't say she's trash. I think because Valkyrie and Wamai lost shields, her having a shield will make her situational. Pulse, really good for certain maps like Coastline, or just certain objectives like Cafe Kitchen or Cafe Reading. Pretty much bringing that intel, bringing that C4, but you don't need him on every site. Kapkan's kind of the same way. I wouldn't say he's trash. I wouldn't say he's common. He's in that like middle area, so he's situational. His traps can be useful. His C4 can be useful, but I don't think he is picked as much as somebody like a Vigil, Valkyrie, Melusi, something like that. But I do think he is situational. Same with Ella. Her traps can be useful for For example, on Bank holding blue stairs, or just holding an area where the attackers need to push. Almost, you can use her gadget as a flank watch, kind of like Goo Mine almost, but she's situational. Same with Doc. Holding long angles maybe on coastline, Doc would be good at that. But it really depends. Like, again, all these people, there's going to be a lot of depends because they're situational. Same thing with Legion. He has some intel with his Goo Mines, can make rotates, can hold some angles with his 1.5. So he's situational. Clash can make rotates, has barbed wire, good at holding down certain areas. Like on Oregon, lots of people will play her basement, have her play pillar, very situational. For yellow, this is Oryx, I believe. I think Oryx is very situational. He is a good roamer. I think he's very underrated for wasting time and moving around, but he is situational. This is Warden, situational again. If they're bringing Glaz or Ying, Warden will be very strong. I don't think he's trash. He does have a C4, does have a shield, does have the MPX, all good guns. Oryx has the T5, proximity alarms and barbed wire, can make rotates, good at roaming, so I do think he's not trash. Mira, situational. I'd almost say she's really good. She's a very good operator, but I wouldn't say she's a need or a common. I would say she's very strong and situational for certain sites, certain maps. Echo, I used to put him up in common, but since the recent nerf where you can always see his cameras at all times, I will say he is situational now, because instead of that Echo, you might bring a Valkyrie for intel that's easier to hide, or a Maestro, or for plant denial, a Smoke, or a Tachanka, or just some C4s, anything like that. Now for trash, I have Rook. He doesn't really bring much in my opinion. For rotates, they're way better operators. Like, I would rather have a Legion, or to be honest, even a Clash or Oryx instead of a Rook. His armor's useful, I guess, but it's not really worth that trade. He doesn't bring enough utility to drop somebody like a Castle or a Valkyrie or a Jaeger or a Wamai or a Smoke. He doesn't substitute that in any way. Frost, her traps are not that useful, especially in high level play where you drone and a lot of it is pushing together and droning. So those traps won't be that useful. To be honest, I could actually see her coming into situational because she does have that shield, much like Alibi. Pick her for the shield. She has that 1.5 times. She has that secondary shotgun. So I could see her actually coming up into situational. I'm going to move her there. But I wouldn't see her picked for her traps. I'd see her picked for her shield and her ability to make rotates with her secondary shotgun. And her gun's not terrible either. And then Cav, with high level coordinated teams, you're not going to be able to do much running around with your pistol because there's going to be too much droning. She does counter Jackal, but even then, a lot of high-level teams don't bring a Jackal because he doesn't bring enough utility. For Smokes, you would rather bring somebody like a Gridlock or an Ace or Capitao. You wouldn't bring a Jackal. And even then, she doesn't bring enough utility. People bring Vigil instead of Cav because it's not so much as face checking, which is what Cav is good at countering because she's silent. It's more droning, which is what Vigil counters. And they both bring impacts. They both have bulletproof cams, I believe. But Vigil's just better because the way it's played is more drone based rather than throwing bodies into a room and seeing what happens and then getting the refrag. But that's how I would rank all the defenders of Rainbow Six Siege. If you agree, disagree, have a different opinion, have a question, anything like that, leave it in the comments below. Any videos you'd like to see, leave in the comments below. But if you enjoyed or learned something new, remember to like and subscribe. All my socials, I'll link in the description below, so make sure you go check those out. But thank you for watching, and peace out, gamers.